everyone, I welcome you all to today's class. It's me, Ankita Pokharel. In today's video, we'll read an exciting story entitled Kisa Gotami and the Mustard Seed, and we'll also follow up with the second part of the reading, writing a letter to the editor. Let's begin the class now. So kids, let's begin reading the story, Kisa Gotami and the Mustard Seed. There lived a woman called Kisa Gotami in one of the villages of Nepal. She got married, gave birth, and lived with her only son as her husband died very recently. She loved her son very much. She worked and lived only for him. The days were passing by happily. One unfortunate day, the son fell sick and died. Kisa could not believe what had happened. She refused to accept that her dear son had left her forever. She cried and was in total grief. The villagers came and consoled her. They advised her that she should prepare for his funeral, but she refused to do so. Instead, she carried her son's dead body in her arms and went around the village from door to door. She begged people to help her bring her son back to life. But the villagers saw that the son was already dead and nothing could be done. She believed that her son would come back and thus spend some days with her dead son. She neither let anybody touch her son's dead body nor would take him to the graveyard. On seeing this, one of the old men of the village came and advised her, "Kisa, I see that you are in great pain. Why don't you go to Gautam Buddha? He has the remedy for all the pains and sufferings in our lives. He will definitely help you." Kisa was very happy to hear that. She said, "Really? Could Gautam Buddha do that?" When the old man confirmed the possibility, she immediately took her son in her arms and ran towards Gautam Buddha, who was meditating under a peepal tree. On reaching there, she cried, "Gautam Buddha, my lord, will you please help me? I have heard that you have magic and power, so would you please use them to restore my son back to life? Please, I request you and I beg you." Gautam Buddha thought for a while and said, "Well, Kisa, I think I can help you, but you must do as I say." Kisa's face brightened and she said, "I'm ready to do everything, Buddha. Please tell me, what should I do to see my son live again?" Gautam Buddha replied, "Okay then, I need a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no family member has died ever." Kisa got hopeful and excited. In no time, she ran towards the door and knocked. "Excuse me, neighbor, could you please lend me a handful of mustard seeds to bring my son back to life?" The neighbor happily said, "Yes, I can surely do that. If my help can make that possible, why wouldn't I? Wait for a moment and I'll be back." As the neighbor turned around to get the seeds, Kisa remembered Buddha's condition and asked, "Has anyone died in your house?" "Oh, well, it was only a year ago that I lost my father," replied the neighbor. Kisa said, "I'm so sorry to hear that, but I cannot take the seeds from you." Then she went to the next door. She repeated her request, "Could you please give me a handful of mustard seed? But no one should have died in your house." But the next neighbor told her that her grandmother had passed away a few weeks ago. Kisa got extremely sad. She went from one door to other doors, but she got similar replies everywhere. Some said a few years, while others said some days back. Some said they had lost their daughter, while others said their mother. Kisa realized an important thing. She understood what Buddha was trying to teach her. Death takes away everybody one day, it is inevitable. It was not that only she had lost her dear one, but it was in everybody's house where people died. When you are born, you are destined to die one day. So the story is adapted from www.buddhiststories.wordpress.com. So now, as we have done the reading part, let's go and see the meanings of some important words here. Okay, there's a word here, recently. Let's mark it number 1 and let's write the meaning here. So recently means something that happened not long ago. That means very near. Okay, let's move to word number 2. And the word number 2 we see here is unfortunate. Let's mark it 2 and let's write down the meaning. Unfortunate describes something that is unlucky or brings sadness. Let's move on to find the meaning of another word. Here, as you see, refused. Let's mark it number 3. Refused means to decline or say no to something that has been offered or requested. Let's go to another word, consoled. Word number 4. Consoled means providing comfort or solace to someone who is upset. Alright, let's move to another word now. And here we have a word, grief. Let's mark it number 5. Grief is intense sorrow or sadness. It's often caused by loss. Alright, now another word here, we see begged. Word number 6. Begged means to make a strong request. Alright, let's move to another word now. Here is a word, graveyard. Let's mark it number 7. So graveyard is a place where people are buried after they die. Alright, so moving on to other words. Here we see a word, remedy. Let's mark it number 8. Remedy is a solution or treatment for a problem or any difficulty. Okay, so we see another word here and that's sufferings. Let's mark it number 9. And sufferings is the state of undergoing pain or hardship. Okay, moving on. Here we have another word, restore. Let's mark it word number 10. Restore means to bring back to a previous condition or state. Now, the word here, as we see, mustard seeds. How many of you know the meaning of mustard seeds? Mustard seeds are the small seeds of mustard plant. You have been using its oil for cooking, right? So, mustard seeds are the seeds of mustard plants. They are usually dark brown in color, reddish dark brown, right? Alright, another word here, lend. Let's mark it number 12. Lend means to give something to someone on the understanding that is usually to be returned. So, let's write it down. So here, to give something to someone on the understanding that it will be returned. Okay, moving on. We have another word, handful. Let's mark it word number 13. Okay, handful means, so handful is a small quantity of something that which can be held in one hand. Alright, let's move to word number 14 and it's extremely. Let's mark it number 14. Extremely is to a very great degree or intensely. Alright, let's find another word for us to know and it's inevitable. Inevitable is something that is certain to happen and that's unavoidable. Okay, and the final word we have is destined. Word number 16. Destined is something that is meant to happen or intended to be something in the future. Here, as we come across the difficult words, now let's try finding out the summary of the story. So here we are about to begin writing the summary of the story Kisa Gotami and the Mustard Seeds. We shall be writing down in steps. So the first thing that happens in the story is the introduction of Kisa Gotami. Kisa Gotami was a young mother who was very sad because her only child had died. We are coming down to the main point here. Kisa Gotami was a young mother who was very sad because her only child had died. Okay. The next event, the next important event, she went to Buddha hoping he would bring her child back to life. The Buddha told her she could find her, but first she needed to find mustard seeds from a house where nobody had died. So Kisa Gotami went from house to house asking for mustard seeds, but she couldn't find one. Finally, she realized that death is a part of life and everyone experiences it. She understood that she wasn't alone in her grief and learned to accept the loss of her child. Lastly, what do we learn from the story? The story teaches us that death is a natural part of life and everyone goes through it. So the moral, death is a natural part of life and everyone goes through it. So most of the people don't like talking about death, but we need to understand that death is a natural part of life. Nobody can escape death. Everybody has to go through it, right? As it means the end of a person's life, it can be sad and difficult for those left behind, but it's important to remember that it's a normal part or the cycle of life. Okay kids, now we are about to write down answers to the given questions. Let's try doing it together. Okay kids, we will now start doing the question and answers. Here are some questions as you see on your screen. Let's discuss the answers and write them down. Okay. Did Kisa love her son? How do you know? Yes, Kisa loved her son. We know this because the text mentions that she loved her son very much. What did she not accept? She did not accept that her dear son had left her forever. What help did she first ask for from the neighbors? She first asked the neighbors to help her bring her son back to life. Why did she not prepare for her son's funeral? She did not prepare for her son's funeral because she refused to accept his death and believed that he would come back to life. What did the old man advise Kisa to do? The old man advised Kisa to go to Gautam Buddha for help. What was Gautam Buddha doing when Kisa saw him? Gautam Buddha was meditating when Kisa saw him. What request did she make with Gautam Buddha? She requested Gautam Buddha to use his magic power and restore her son back to life. What did Gautam Buddha tell Kisa to do? Gautam Buddha told Kisa to bring a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no family member has died ever. Did Kisa find a house where no one has ever died? No, Kisa did not find a house where no one has ever died. What did Kisa finally learn? Kisa finally learned that death is inevitable and affects everyone, as she realized that death takes away everybody one day. Okay students, do you remember us discussing the meanings of some of the words from the text? Yes. So here what you will have to do is write down the meanings of the words given here in your own words. Okay? Please make sure you don't copy each of the meanings from the things that we have discussed as per your understanding. Alright? So this one is your assignment for reading number 1. Now let's move on with the second part of reading for this unit. Here you can see a letter written by Nitin Rai to the editor of the Rising Nepal. Okay, the letter is written on 19th September 2021. So the Rising Nepal's address is Kathmandu, Nepal. The letter has been posted from Kathmandu by Nitin Rai on 19th September 2021. The subject is air pollution, a concern. Let's read the letter together. Dear Sir, Madam, through your esteemed daily newspaper, I'd like to highlight the problem of air pollution in our city. Among other environmental problems, we have a problem with air pollution, which is on the rise. Factories are the major source of air and water pollution. Air pollution leads to suffocation, breathing problems, and lung diseases when our lungs are choked with polluted air. Factory owners should be aware of this. They should take responsibility for the environment around them. The thick smoke emitted by the factory chimneys is full of poisonous gases. This mixes with pure air and causes pollution. There should be a strict law to punish the owners of such factories if they do not take the moral responsibility to keep the air clean. Yours faithfully, Nitin Rai. Okay, here Nitin Rai is discussing something about the problem of air pollution in his city. Which one is his city? Yes, it's Kathmandu. He is highlighting on how air pollution leads to different hazards of health. He also highlights who should be responsible. Okay, so he is also requesting that there should be a strict law to punish the owners of such factories which emit huge poisonous gases if they do not take the moral responsibility to keep the air clean. This is what Nitin Rai has written in his application. So here we have to complete the table based on the information provided in the letter. Sender's address. What was the sender's address, if you remember? Yes, it was Kathmandu. Who is the receiver? The editor of the Rising Nepal. Receiver of the letter, right? The Rising Nepal. Name of the newspaper. So name of the newspaper is the Rising Nepal. The letter was sent to the editor of Rising Nepal and the name of the newspaper is the Rising Nepal. Subject of the letter. Do you remember the subject of the letter? Yes, it was air pollution, a concern. Who was the sender? It was Nitin Rai. Okay. Let's discuss and write the answers to these questions. What type of problem is air pollution? Air pollution is an environmental problem. So I'll just write the bullets here. Please make sure you write them in sentences. What are the major sources of air pollution? They are factories. What health problems are caused by air pollution? Suffocation, breathing problems, and lung diseases. What does the smoke from chimneys contain? Poisonous gases. Okay, here are some more questions. Try finding out the answers to these questions as your assignment for this reading part. How did your class go today? If you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to reach out to us at learning@dawalk.edu.np. See you in the next class with another lesson. Thank you.